Every season, gardeners spend money on sprays. Aphids come back. Beetles come back. Mosquitoes return at dusk. Slugs appear after rain. And somehow, the garden becomes a cycle of mixing, spraying, waiting, and starting over. But what if the problem is not that you need a stronger pesticide? What if the problem is that your garden has no living defense system? Certain perennials do more than look pretty. They release aromatic compounds that many pests avoid. They attract beneficial insects that hunt aphids, caterpillars, and whitefly larvae. Some protect the air around a bed. Some protect the soil line. Some work best at borders, corners, pathways, doorways, and vegetable beds where pest pressure begins. That does not mean one plant magically creates a pest-free garden forever. Nature does not work like that. But when the right plants are placed deliberately, they can reduce pest pressure, bring in pollinators, support beneficial predators, and help you rely less on the spray bottle. Today, we are looking at 7 perennials that can help your garden defend itself naturally. Lavender, catmint, yarrow, lemon balm, chives, rosemary, and tansy. By the end, you will also know how to combine them into a layered pest defense system that works from the ground up. Because you do not fight every pest one by one. You build a garden that makes pests less welcome. Lavender is usually treated like a fragrance plant, something pretty near a walkway, something dried for sachets, something people associate with candles, soap, and calm evenings. But in the garden, lavender can do something much more practical. It creates a scent zone that many pests do not like crossing. The power comes from aromatic compounds in the foliage and flowers, especially linalool and linoleal acetate. To us, that scent feels clean and relaxing. To mosquitoes, moths, flies, fleas, and other small pests, that same scent can interfere with how they navigate toward plants, people, and shelter. But placement matters. One lavender plant is decoration. A small group becomes strategy. Plant 3 lavender plants together, spaced about 18 to 24 inches apart, and you create a stronger aromatic barrier than one isolated plant can ever provide. Use lavender along bed borders, near roses, beside vegetable patches, along walkways, and near patios or doorways where mosquitoes gather in the evening. It grows best in USDA, zones 5 through 9, with full sun and sharply drained soil. Drainage is not optional. Lavender sitting in wet soil can rot at the crown before you realize anything is wrong. If you have heavy clay, raise the bed, add gravelly drainage, or use containers. And do not cut lavender to the ground in fall. Leave some green growth to protect the crown through winter. Lavender is not just pretty. It is fragrance, pollinator value, dried flowers, and a quiet pest deterrent zone from one tough perennial. Catmint looks soft, but pests do not experience it that way. The silvery foliage, the lavender blue flowers, the low mounding shape. It looks gentle at the edge of a garden bed. But inside that plant is a compound called nepetalactone, the same family of chemistry that makes catnip famous. Research has shown that nepetalactone can repel mosquitoes strongly under certain laboratory conditions. In the real garden, it is not a magic wall, but it is still one of the best aromatic perennials for making a space less inviting to pests. Mosquitoes are only part of the story. Catmint can also help discourage aphids, flea beetles, Japanese beetles, squash bugs, and other insects that prefer not to move through strong aromatic zones. That is why placement matters. Plant catmint along vegetable bed edges, near squash and pumpkin, beside pathways, and around sunny borders where pests usually arrive first. When you brush the foliage, it releases more scent into the air. Catmint grows well in USDA zones 3 through 8, making it one of the cold-hardiest plants on this list. Give it full sun to light shade and average, well-drained soil. Once established, it becomes extremely drought-tolerant. The golden trick is simple. After the first bloom fades in early summer, cut the plant back by about half. Within a few weeks, fresh foliage returns, followed by a new flush of flowers. That young growth is more aromatic, more attractive to pollinators, and more useful as part of your pest deterrent system. If you have outdoor cats, protect young plants until they are established. After that, catmint becomes one of the easiest, toughest, most useful borders you can grow. Yarrow is different from most pest deterrent plants because it does two jobs at once. It helps repel, and it helps recruit. The feathery foliage has a strong herbal scent, with aromatic compounds such as camphor and borneol contributing to that sharp, medicinal smell. Many soft-bodied pests, especially aphids, do not enjoy that kind of aromatic environment. But the flowers are where yarrow becomes truly valuable. Those flat-topped flower clusters act like landing pads for beneficial insects. Hoverflies, lacewings, tiny parasitic wasps. These are the insects that help control aphids, caterpillars, whitefly larvae, and other pests that damage vegetables and ornamentals. So while the foliage helps make the space less comfortable for pests, the flowers help bring in the predators that keep the garden balanced. That is why yarrow belongs inside the garden, not hidden far away. Plant it at the corners of vegetable beds. Place it along paths between growing areas. Use it near plants that often suffer from aphids or caterpillars. Yarrow grows well in USDA zones 3 through 9 and handles heat, drought, poor soil, and neglect better than many perennials. Full sun is best. Well-drained soil matters, and here is the mistake to avoid. Do not overfeed it. Rich soil and heavy fertilizer can make yarrow tall, floppy, and less aromatic. Poor to average soil often gives you stronger stems and better performance. Space plants about 1 to 2 feet apart. Divide every few years if the clump spreads farther than you want. White and yellow varieties are especially useful for attracting a wide range of beneficial insects, while pink and red types still add beauty and value. Yarrow is not just a flower. It is a recruitment station for the insects your garden actually needs. Lemon balm is the plant that smells gentle but works harder than people expect. Crush one leaf between your fingers, and you get that bright lemon candy fragrance immediately. That scent comes from aromatic compounds related to citronellol and citrol, the same general family of lemony chemistry people try to capture in mosquito candles and natural repellents. But a candle burns out. A living lemon balm plant keeps producing leaves. Those leaves release scent when warmed by the sun, brushed by your hand, or moved by wind near a doorway, patio, or vegetable bed. Mosquitoes, gnats, aphids, and squash bugs tend to avoid strong lemon-scented aromatic zones, which makes lemon balm useful where people and plants both need protection. It also has one clever advantage around ants. Strong aromatic foliage can interfere with the scent trails ants use to move and communicate, making it harder for them to organize around entry points or garden edges. Use lemon balm near doorways, patios, seating areas, squash beds, and shaded corners where other pest-deterrent herbs may struggle. It grows well in USDA zones 4 through 9 and tolerates partial shade better than lavender, rosemary, or many other aromatic perennials. But there is one warning. Lemon balm spreads. If you let it flower and drop seed freely, it can appear in places you never planned. So deadhead it before seed forms, or grow it in a container to keep it controlled. The more you harvest and pinch it back, the more leafy and aromatic it becomes. And the bonus is simple. Those same fresh leaves make a calming lemon-scented tea. One plant protects the patio, scents your hands, supports pollinators, and gives you something useful in the kitchen. Chives look too ordinary to be powerful. Most people see them as a kitchen herb, something to cut over potatoes, eggs, soup, or salad. But in the garden, chives are part of the allium family, alongside garlic, onions, and leeks. That family produces sulfur-based compounds that many pests do not enjoy moving through. Above ground, the scent can help discourage aphids, mites, and Japanese beetles. Below ground, allium chemistry may also help make the root zone less inviting to certain soil pests. That makes chives unusually useful because they work at more than one level. They are not just protecting leaves. They are helping defend the edge of the bed and the soil around the roots. Chives grow well in USDA, zones 3 through 9, making them one of the most reliable perennial herbs for American gardens. They appear early in spring, return year after year, and form neat upright clumps that are easy to place between vegetables, around roses, near young fruit trees, or along the border of carrot and root crop beds. Plant them in full sun to light shade with average well-drained soil. Space clumps 6 to 12 inches apart if you want a strong border effect. Let the purple flowers bloom. They are edible, beautiful, and attractive to pollinators. When harvesting, cut the leaves down to about 2 inches above the soil. The plant will regrow quickly, often thicker than before. That is what makes chives so valuable. Food for you, flowers for pollinators, and a quiet sulfur barrier working in the garden all season long. Rosemary is not just a cooking herb. In a vegetable garden, it can become a perimeter defense plant. The same sharp scent that makes rosemary powerful in the kitchen comes from aromatic compounds such as camphor, cineole, and alpha-pinene. Those compounds help create an environment that many pests prefer to avoid, including cabbage moths, bean beetles, carrot flies, and spider mites. That makes rosemary especially useful near brassicas, beans, root crops, and sunny vegetable beds. But the placement matters more than most people realize. Plant rosemary upwind. If your prevailing wind usually comes from the west, put rosemary on the western side of your vegetable garden. The wind carries its scent across the bed before pests reach your crops. You are not chasing insects after the damage begins. You are intercepting them at the edge. Rosemary grows as a perennial outdoors in USDA zones 7 through 11. In colder zones, grow it in a container and move it into a bright, cool, protected place during winter. It needs full sun, at least 6 hours a day, and excellent drainage. Wet roots in cold weather are one of the fastest ways to lose rosemary. Use raised beds, slopes, containers, or gravelly soil if your garden stays wet. Prune after flowering to keep the plant dense, but never cut into old brown wood. Rosemary does not regrow well from bare stems. Always cut back into green growth. The bonus is obvious. You get a permanent herb for roasting, grilling, soups, and bread. But in the right place, rosemary is also an evergreen aromatic wall that helps protect the plants growing behind it. Tansy is the strongest plant on this list, and also the one that demands the most control. Tanacetum vulgare has a long history in gardens and households as a pest deterrent plant. Its sharp scent comes from compounds such as thujone, camphor, and borneol, which help explain why ants, flies, mosquitoes, cucumber beetles, squash bugs, Japanese beetles, and potato beetles often avoid it. That makes tansy valuable near vegetable beds, but do not treat it casually. Tansy spreads aggressively. It can self-seed. It can move beyond the place you wanted it. So the best way to grow it is with boundaries. Plant it in a large container, or sink a 5-gallon pot into the ground, and plant tansy inside that pot. Leave the rim slightly above soil level so the roots cannot escape easily. Then, deadhead the flowers before seeds form. That one rule matters. Control the roots. Control the seed. And tansy becomes useful instead of troublesome. It grows well in USDA zones 3 through 9, in full sun to partial shade, and it does not need rich soil. In fact, overfeeding can make it taller, weaker, and less aromatic. Place it at the back of beds, along fence lines, near potato patches, or beside squash and cucumber areas where beetle pressure is a recurring problem. But remember this clearly. Tansy is not an edible herb. Do not use it like kitchen rosemary or chives. Keep it away from pets and livestock that may chew it, because thujone can be toxic in significant amounts. Used carelessly, tansy becomes a problem. Used wisely, it becomes a powerful garden barrier. Each plant on this list can help on its own, but the real power comes when you stop thinking plant by plant and start thinking system. A pest-resistant garden works in layers. The first layer is aromatic confusion. That is where catmint and lavender work beautifully. Their scent helps make the air around beds, paths, and seating areas less inviting to flying pests. Use them along the front edges of beds, near walkways, and anywhere people naturally brush the foliage. The second layer is beneficial insect recruitment. That is yarrow, planted at the corners of vegetable beds and along paths between growing areas. Its flowers bring in hoverflies, lacewings, and tiny parasitic wasps, the insects that help keep aphids and caterpillars under control. The third layer is heavy-duty perimeter pressure. That is tansy. Use it carefully, contained in buried pots or large containers, at the back corners of vegetable beds, near squash, cucumbers, potatoes, or fence lines, where beetles and crawling pests often enter. Then connect those corners with chives. A border of chives gives you edible herbs, purple flowers, pollinator value, and allium scent at the soil line. Finally, place rosemary on the upwind side of the garden, so the breeze carries its aromatic compounds across the crops you want to protect. Lemon balm belongs near doorways, patios, and partially shaded seating areas, especially where mosquitoes and ants are a recurring problem. This system is not a guarantee that no pest will ever appear. No living garden works that way, but it gives your garden multiple defenses at once. Scent barriers, beneficial insects, root zone protection, perimeter planting, and better placement. You are not spraying after pests arrive. You are designing a garden that makes it harder for them to settle in. Most garden pest problems do not need to begin with a spray bottle. They begin with a question. What kind of garden are you building? If every bed is empty soil, stressed plants, high nitrogen growth, and no beneficial insect habitat, pests will keep finding a way in. But when you plant with purpose, the garden changes. Lavender creates a clean aromatic zone around paths, patios, roses, and vegetable beds. Catmint pushes scent through sunny borders while feeding bees for months. Yarrow brings in the hunters your garden needs: hoverflies, lacewings, and tiny parasitic wasps. Lemon balm protects doorways, seating areas, and shaded corners with bright lemon fragrance. Chives form an edible border that works above and below the soil line. Rosemary stands upwind like an evergreen wall, carrying its scent across the crops behind it. And tansy, used carefully and contained properly, becomes a powerful back border barrier for the toughest pest zones. None of these plants promise a perfect garden with zero insects forever. That is not the goal. A healthy garden will always have life moving through it. The goal is balance, fewer outbreaks, more beneficial insects, less panic, less spraying, and a garden that becomes stronger every year because the defense system is alive. So start simple. Plant yarrow if you want the easiest first step. Plant catmint if you want beauty, pollinators, and aromatic protection. If you are in a warm enough zone, plant rosemary on the upwind side of your vegetable bed. Then build from there. One plant becomes a border becomes a system, and a system becomes a garden that works with you instead of against you. If this video helped you rethink pest control, subscribe for more practical gardening guides that save time, money, and frustration. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what pest causes the most damage in your garden? And what state or USDA zone are you gardening in? You do not fight every pest one by one. You build a garden that makes pests less welcome.